This episode is brought to you by Ardan Labs Education. Sign up today to learn advanced concepts in Go, Docker, Kubernetes, Terraform, and more. Visit ardanlabs.com/education for more information.
Welcome to the Ardan Labs podcast. Our special guest today is Philippe Charrière. Philippe, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thank you, Bill, to have me on stage. As you can hear, I'm French, so don't speak too fast.
I was just in Paris last week, so I was. I'm
Oh,
assuming
nice.
are you living? Yeah.
I'm not in Paris. I'm more in the south of France, in Lyon,
All right. Cool.
the capital of the gastronomy in France.
So you and I have never met. I was reaching out on Twitter asking people who they wanted to hear from, and your name popped up. So I reached out and asked you to get on the show. So I love these shows the most when I don't know anything about somebody because I'm not trying to lead a conversation. I just kind of let it really happen, and it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I was surprised when you pinged me for the podcast because I know you, because I read your book about Golang. Uh, and yes, I'm okay to do this kind of thing. Even if I try since years, but I'm always struggling with English. But I'm working in an international company. So it's a nice training for me.
Your English is perfect as far as I'm concerned. So it's all good.
It depend of the hour of the day. In fact, early in the morning sometimes it's difficult, and at the end of the day it's the same. But and it depends of for example, of the part of England. One of my manager was Welsh, and our discussion was always funny. But I survived.
Awesome. Okay. Tell everybody, take 2 minutes and tell everybody what you're doing today.
Okay, so today for my day-to-day job, I'm working at Gitlab. My position is I am a customer success engineer. So I'm helping people with their GitLab adoption and usage. And so I'm part of the customer success team. And we have the customer success manager. So they have a customer portfolio. And I was a customer success manager. And the customer success engineer is here to help the customer success manager on technical stuff, usage. If the customer is struggling with the development process with merge request, for example, or for demonstration. So it's a little bit more technical, and it's why I change of position after doing the CSM for 5 years, I think. And most of the time, I'm a former developer, so I love programming with JavaScript, Golang, Java. I trying to do my baby steps with Rust, but honestly, I'm very bad with Rust. And since the first confinement in Europe because of COVID, my main playground was or is WebAssembly, mainly on the server side, but it's why finally I start to learn Golang. Before I bought a lot of books about Golang, thinking I will find a moment to learn it, and I never did it. And when I started with WebAssembly and Rust, I found it too complicated, in fact. And a friend of mine told me, but you can do it the same thing with Go. So I tried and I started to love it because Honestly, my main language was JavaScript. And I'm not a big lover with type, for example, or even with pointers. But day after day, in fact, I started to love it. And now I'm almost addicted, I think.
You're addicted. Now you have to find problems to solve, like cool problems to solve, so you keep going.
Yes, and I was thinking about. I saw some tweet and message from friends saying that they don't like Golang, and I tried to understand why. I didn't find a reason, but I think me why I love Golang is because I have only to think about what is the requirement or the problem to solve, and after it's only a translation of what I have at mind, for example. And I love the tool chain too.
So in your job, who is the am I a customer? Am I the customer you're trying to make sure is having that great experience, or are these specific customers at GitHub that pay to have you around?
For my job, most of the time, I don't have to develop anything except to prepare a demonstration, to explain to a customer what are the new features. So I try to find some useful and understandable example. So it's why I love JavaScript, for example, because you can do something very readable, and it's the same with Go, and especially for microservices demonstration. So I use it to demonstrate deployment with CI/CD, with Blue Green, or to deploy something on Kubernetes, or even to fake a deployment in a web page using Golang and WebAssembly. So I can, for example, define a build job with Go and Wasm, so the customer can see every step and every stage of a whole CI/CD lifecycle, for example. But for my job, I think I'm more using Bash than Go or JavaScript, and sometimes Python. But I'm very new with Python because we providing some scanner to scan the code to find um, uh, vulnerabilities, for example. But very often my customer don't use the GitLab scanners because they have already their own scanners. Then one of my job is to develop some link or utilities to transform the data from their scanner to include it inside GitLab, so they can use the security features or quality features of GitLab.
All right. I'm gonna this is a podcast about you, and I want to hear your story. We'll get back to all that stuff at the end. So a couple of things. First thing is just I try to get some dates. So like when you were around 17 or 18 years old, right? That's usually when you're thinking about university. And I still want to talk before that, but what year was it when you were like, I'm going to age you now? Like, what year were you like 17? I'm 53. So I was like 17 and
I'm older.
87.
I'm 54.
Oh, you got a year on me. Okay. All right. So that means around like 1986, you were finishing or near the end of your schooling.
I started my first official job 1995.
Yeah. Wait. Don't tell me that just yet. We're gonna get there. I'm just trying to age you. So you're 54. I'm 53. So you were in your late teens around 1986, 1987. That's kind of, I like knowing that because that sets the stage for kind of where technology was at that time. But here's my first question. Here's my very
Yes.
first question. I want you to, and don't think too hard on this, just the first memory that pops in your head, working on a computer, making the computer do something, that first moment you had when you realized, oh my God, this machine is really cool. I can do some things on this machine.
Texas Instrument 1919-A with the TI Extended Basic, and I was trying to develop a kind of Space Invader, but with only one invader. And when I was able to have only one sprite moving on my TV, I said, "Wow, it's beautiful." But I was very proud of myself, and finally I started to. At this time in France, we hadn't any informatics studies, so it was difficult to find documentation because I hadn't internet. But
But how old were you when you were doing this?
oh, good question. Probably 12 or 13, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, okay. 12. And you said you were doing that on the computer. So you had one of those, on your TV. So you had one of those computers that hooked into the television. Yeah.
Yes,
Did it have a tape cassette deck to save
of
and
course.
yeah.
Yes. It was a nightmare. And after I had other computers, but it was more pocket computers. I start with Texas Instrument 57, and then after I have some PC Sharp with basic language on it, and Canon X07 too.
Wow, you remember all that.
Yeah, and even with the tape to record the source code. And
Wow.
but
How, how
I
did you
didn't know. Yes,
Okay,
sorry.
wait, but do you remember how you got your hands on that computer? Like your parents brought it home?
I asked to have a computer because I saw a computer at the home of my babysitters, and
Okay.
I was probably 11 or 12. He was 15, I think, or 17, and he had a computer. And
Oh.
he showed me what he was doing with it. He was a lot better than me. And the day after, I said to my parents, I want it because my parents always said, it's not, you never had console game to plug on the TV. It was forbidden at home. So I said, I want a computer to learn programming, to do my exercise of mathematics, for example. And they said, okay, but I don't know if I was lucky or clever because on the Texas Instrument 99, there was a game too. So I was able to play game and learning programming.
That is awesome. So you got this computer at that point. They bought you the computer. So now you're playing, not playing, but you're how quickly did you kind of so I had a very similar computer about the same age, and in about I'd say 3 or 4 weeks I was kind of done with it. Like I felt like I did everything I could on that little computer and I wanted more. Did you ever get to that point? You're just like, I need more, I need more.
Yes, I was slow, but I remember that, in fact, on my computer, the basic was embedded, and I read that there was a extended version of this basic with some features more game oriented, to develop sprite and move them very easily. So I asked for this extension, and I started to do more things because I was playing with my computer, but most of the time, for me, about some days, the games were boring, and honestly, I preferred to develop something myself. But I will never be able to develop a real game, in fact.
So you're like, early teens when you're doing that. Talk to me about when you're like 15, 16, 17. Are you still interested in the computers, or are you focused on, say, other things, music, sports? Like, what's your passion at that point?
Around 16, I used a lot small computer, the PC Sharp. So it was like my big computer, but in my pocket. And I developed some program to help me at school to do the exercise in mathematics or in physics, for example. But the rest of the time, I had a passion, and it was the windsurfing. But it was a long time ago, before the the very small windsurf.
The windsurfing is when you're standing on that sort of surfboard and you're holding. You have to be really strong for that. That's not a joke.
Myself, in fact, when I was young, I was very thin, and I have some back issue. And when I started to do windsurf, I get more muscle, and my back problem disappeared. In fact, but I remember to take the board from the home to the beach. At the beginning of the summer, we need to be two persons to do it. At the end of the summers, I was able to do it myself, and it was really a passion. But I stopped it, I think, around 20, because I was more. I spend more time in at the pub, in fact.
So here's something crazy. Cuba is 90 miles from Florida, from West Point. Cuba is 90 miles away from Florida, right? If you're going down to Key West. I met a guy who windsurfed the 90 miles from
Whoa.
Cuba all the way to like Key West to escape Cuba. Windsurfed. Crazy. In fact, I think they put him on Sports Illustrated. He showed me a magazine. I'm going to look this up. Or it was insane what this guy did. Imagine that for like I think it was like 2 or 3 days windsurfing.
Wow.
And
It's
that's like
huge.
shark infested waters, man. This guy was insane. And I tried it one time, and
When I did windsurfing, in fact, it was easy because the board was almost a boat, so it was simple to do. But yes, I think I did windsurf during 4 years, and after I stopped.
are you feeling bad that you stopped? At some point, when you start getting out of shape, you start saying, "Why did I stop that? Like I was in such good shape. Why did I stop?"
Yeah, I stopped because it was difficult to do windsurf during winter, in fact. And so I did a lot of skiing, and even snowboard. 10 years ago, I tried again snowboard, and it was a mess. I need to try to do more sports.
That's another one. The snowboarding, you need like really strong abs and
Yeah,
hamstrings, and yeah,
I have not this anymore.
when we get to our age, what you have to do is protect your knees and your back. Like
Yes, so now I'm doing bicycle, and I'm okay with that because I try to. Before, even last year, I walk a lot. I can walk during 20 kilometers or almost, but I'm fat, and for my knees, it's horrible. So it's why I start again the bicycle, and I'm okay with that. And I love fishing too, but I have not enough time to do it.
You just got to keep moving. The moment you stop moving, you're done. But I did learn that I'm not going to play basketball with my 20-year-old sons because I won't survive anymore. Okay, so talk to me about when you're like starting to think about what you're going to do after grade school. I don't know how school works in France, but I imagine by the time you're 16, 17, you have to start thinking about what your next sort of step is.
The way wasn't very straight down because at the beginning I wanted to do biology to be a veterinary. I even started veterinary studies, and I missed everything because I spent more time in club and pub than at school. Um, so finally, I almost finished my studies in business school, like something like MBA. And when I did biology before at the veterinary school, I didn't do any more programming, for example. And when I started in the business school, we had a course of informatics, and I started again to develop. Um, and at the end of the school, I realized that uh, I didn't like business school, in fact. So I start,
So you decide if this is you're talking university, right? When you're going to
yeah.
university. So you start with the biology in university,
Mm.
but it's not holding your interest enough
No,
because you
because I
go into
was too young.
yeah. You and I have a similar story. I went to university, was really too immature, just wanted to go to the pub. That's all I cared about. Like classes were a drag. In fact, I just hated going to class. But then somewhere in the middle of that, you said, "No, I'm going to do business." Was that like a year or two in?
I go in the business school because I think it was the only school that accepts me, in fact. So I started to learn something else like management, um, legals, marketing. It was interesting, but not very hard, not always very fun. It depends. At the end, I became the president of the we call it in France desk of students. So I was the responsible of organization of party at school. In fact, uh,
You were like the school president for your grade or something like that.
yes. But at the end of the, I did. I was in this school. I was. I worked for a company, and this company was a software editor. But my school wasn't finished, so it was during the summer, and after I had to write everything I did in this company to confirm my diploma. Um, and finally, I decided that I wanted to do development or programming for my job. But it was something pretty new in France, in fact. And I started again my studies. So just 1 year, but to have informatic, a diploma of informatic.
So at this point, you're like 20, 21 years old, or you're younger,
22, I think.
22. So you're you're just trying to figure out what it is you want to do. You get this internship job over the summer, and then you said, that's it. I want to get into basically computers.
And in 1995, in February, my first job was in this company, and I started as I was in the support team of the company. So the guy who answered to the phone and tried to find a solution to the upset customers without internet, of course.
So when they were using the CD-ROM as a cup holder, and they didn't understand why it wasn't working.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah, we have that, but my customers used essentially tape to make backup, etc. And the company was a software editor to make um, management of company, payroll, something like that.
Oh.
And after 1 year, I go to the development team, and my first professional language was COBOL.
So they were coding on like one of these like mini mainframes then. This wasn't PC development.
I use a PC, but it was passive terminal, and so we had I cannot remember the what kind of server we had, but everything was on a server, and it was just an emulation on my PC. Code with VI in COBOL, and the compilator was COBOL Microfocus, I think, if I remember well.
I did like a week of COBOL. I spent 1 week in a job internship coding, fixing some bugs in COBOL, and I was just like,
yeah, I think I spent 6 months with COBOL, and after we did a kind of agreement with another software editor who was working on Windows, and I started to develop with Visual Fox Pro from Microsoft. So it was it was a kind of successor or child of DBAS. But it was nice. It was a X-based language, but object oriented. And I started finally to understand what was object oriented programming, because at the university I didn't understand nothing.
you know, if you still have your COBOL skills, you know, they're highly valuable right now.
Yeah, I know. For my retirement, perhaps I will try to start again. It's in France, I know, especially in bank, it's very interesting from a financial, from a money perspective. It's very interesting to develop with COBOL.
300 euros an hour. That's what you can get right now. Come on.
But right now, I prefer my job.
So you are in your early 20s. It's 1995, 96, and you're now a full-fledged professional software developer working in Fox Pro and DBase.
Yeah, and I use Fox Pro 5 or 6 years. I worked in different companies, and I find my next jobs almost always thanks to Fox Pro, because a lot of companies in France developed whole software with Visual Fox Pro, because in fact you can start a simple application, and at the end it was very easy to plug it on SQL Server, for example. So the code you did for the Fox Pro database was able to run on SQL Server. So I was a MCP, Visual Fox Pro MCP. I had a
You were
kind of
certified in Fox
certification.
Pro.
Yes, Yeah.
after like 6 years. But you said that you're bouncing, so you're not staying at one job too long. Why is that? You just going after money,
Yes.
or you're just going after money?
In fact, I don't know if it was the same at this moment in the US, for example, but um, developers in France was at very the payroll was very small, well, not very nice. So to have more money, you had two choice. Uh, Change of company or doing management, project manager. And at the moment, I did these mistakes, and I was a project manager. And but I learned a lot. I discovered a lot of things. I think I probably did some burnouts, but the name didn't exist at this moment. Uh, the job was crazy in the good sense and the bad sense of the term. But at a moment in 2005, I decided to go to more technical stuff again.
Okay, wait a second. That's 10 years of Fox Pro. I mean, like 95 to 2005.
No. Yeah, not only Fox Pro, in fact, because I did a lot of mission for companies with MS Access, with Visual Basic, with .NET and C Sharp.
So were you consulting, or were you taking full-time positions?
It depend. It depended of the opportunities, in fact. So sometimes I was a consultant just to explain people how to do their job. Um, Sometimes I was on a mission to do development in ASP3, for example. Sometimes it was about architecture. Um, when you are in France, when you are in a consulting company, most of the time you have no choice of the mission, and you have just to do what your manager wants
Did
you
you
to do.
did you ever finish the degree? Did you ever
Yeah,
finish your? Oh, you did. Okay.
the business school, yes, and the informatic one too.
Okay, cool. So all right,
I
so
have a
you
diploma.
you got the diploma. You didn't say, you know what, this money is too good. I'm not going back and finishing.
No. I finished the diploma before starting to work.
You know what's sad, because we're talking about between the 90s and the new millennium, things haven't changed. Like, if you really are looking to get the next bigger salary, you have to jump. For some
Mm,
reason, companies won't give you more than a 10% raise. Like they just can't, for whatever reason. So if you need that, you have to jump. It's really sad. Like, there's got to be.
yeah, yes, and you have to jump, and very often you had to move to Paris, for example, to the capital of France, to be sure to have a better um, salary. But in Paris, it's difficult because the life is more expensive too. Um,
Yeah. So did you really get a raise?
yeah, but before in 1995, it was easier to find a job in Paris than in Lyon, where I'm living now. I started in Lyon. I find a job, but and I learn a lot of things. But I was almost obliged to go in Paris to have an interesting missions, for example.
Yeah. Now, and there's no concept of remote work back then either.
No, not at all.
No. So you
It-
had to go where the job was.
my first remote job was, I think, 8 years ago, when I was a solution engineer at GitHub during 1 year before going to Gitlab. But it was the first time I had a real remote job. And the first time I was obliged to speak in English for my job too. So it was a big shock for me because my onboarding for GitHub was at San Francisco, and
Wait, don't fully
yeah,
jump
I'm
there
too
yet, because we're in
sorry.
2005 right now, right? So you're 10 years in being a developer, you're contracting, you're taking some full-time jobs, your programming has gone from Fox Pro to Visual Basic to Access. You're still doing a lot of database sort of programming. So what happens
but
in 2000?
I'm very bad with database, in fact.
You're bad with database, but that's what you're doing. You're getting paid to be bad with databases.
Yes.
What happens in 2005, 2006?
My significant other and myself had our first baby, my daughter. And at the same time, almost at the same time, I started a new job in a new company with a new position. I had to do a kind of pre-sales jobs to help the team to build offer for prospective customers. But at the end, I didn't add this mission, and I had to handle a Java developer team for a big customer, a big company in France. It's the company that is providing electricity in France, and we were working on the nuclear part. We were managing some software that's using by the company to manage everything in the nuclear plants, for example.
That had to be interesting and exciting. I mean, you're managing
Yes.
the power grid, and you're getting to play with some.
I was very lucky at this moment because I think I had a dream team. I never be able to choose my team, but I was very lucky. I worked with very great developers, but they were all Java developers. And in the former job, I was a C# developer. So I decided to learn to learn Java, sorry, because I understood quickly that sometimes my team was telling me not. It wasn't lies, but when I asked how many days to do these features, they said, "Oh, I think it's very difficult, Philippe. I think it's 20 or 30 days." And I was sure that it wasn't 20 days. So I started to learn Java just to be sure that I understood what they are trying to explain to me, and to be in a position to tell them, I think you can do it in another way. But the Java programming was very strange for me because before this job, I always work only on Windows or Windows servers, and in this case, I have to work on Linux with Java. So it was a very big change for me. I was a project manager since some years, and I decided again to start to train again on technical stuff.
Is that because you had the baby now and you really felt like you needed more money? So I'm going to go back into management.
It wasn't a money problem this time. It was more I wanted to be sure to understand the whole landscape of the project, and for me managing a Java team without knowing Java, it was possible, but I wasn't very comfortable, even with the discussion with the customer. as a manager, I wasn't obliged to do it, but I like to understand, if possible, everything.
So, how long were you in this role?
For this company, I stayed in this company 5 years.
That's your longest, right? Like you hadn't stayed anywhere for 5 years.
At this moment, it was my longest experience. I think I was the manager of this team during 2 years, and after I changed of position, and I was the CTO of the company, or the CTO of the. It was an agency in a regional agency in a bigger group, and I was the CTO of the regional agency. And the last year in the company, I wasn't a CTO anymore. I was more the what is the name? I was the manager of the.
Like like the VP of engineering for everyone.
No, it was more business oriented.
Business.
It was like the manager of the customer success team.
Okay.
So I have to invent all the process to create.
How did that happen? How did you go from being the head of the technical decisions to the head of the customer service?
Because since the beginning in this company, but in the former company, when a customer send a request for price or request for information, I always help the sales team to create the offer on the technical part, on the plan part. So how many days, how many people, the delay, etc. And surprisingly, I almost never failed. We won every time. So the boss of my boss told me, Philippe, I think you will change of position, and it's why I started this kind of job. But it was interesting too because there was everything to do. Create the process, create the model of bid or of offers, to gain the trust of the technical teams too, because they forget that I was a developer before, and they saw me as a salesperson, but I'm not a salesperson. I'm a pre-salesperson.
Yeah, that helps because you know exactly how long it's going to take. So then why do you leave? You're there 5 years. You're in a pretty high position. I mean, it's got to be comfortable. Why do you leave in 5 years?
Because my boss was fired. The boss of my boss was fired. The boss hired me before, so I thought it was the moment for me to go away because I probably will be the third person to be fired. And I start the same kind of job, but with I wasn't the boss of the pre-sales this time. I was part of the pre-sales team, but in a very very biggest company, in fact. Before we were bigger, yes. Before we were 3,000 people, and I changed for a company where we were 20,000 people. So so my new job was the name of my new job was bid manager, but in fact it was the same job, and I had to work with the technical team to build architecture and requirements for big.
Yeah, but that's harder now because the technical team doesn't know you, and you have to gain their respect and trust. So how do you do that?
In fact, it was in the bigger company. I was again in a regional agency, In fact, the chief sales officer was the person who had the power in the agency. So he told me, I'm your boss. If you say that it's the good architecture, you can send it to the customer. And so I did it. And I CC the CTO of the agency. And he said, I don't understand why we never met and why you send this architecture to the customer without telling me. So it was the first contact. It was a little bit hard, but we spent 1 hour at the pub again. And finally, we became very quickly the best friends of the world. And then we were able to, in fact, after that, we always worked together for this kind of.
Yeah. See, the pub's the place where you have to
always.
You need relationships. At the end of the day, it was the willingness to have a relationship.
Yeah, and it's all so probably the pub is not the ultimate solution, but it's always interesting to speak with people, but in other context. So it's easier to create links, for example.
So how long are you at this company? What year is it now?
Because after this company was did a kind of marriage with another bigger company, so the managing was changing. My manager go to another company, and he asked me to go with him. So and then I started a new kind of job. I was more the CTO again of the new agency. But always helping the sales team to.
You're always in this sort of technical sales role in one form or another. But you said at some point you were working at Gitlab, right? What year do you start at Gitlab?
Not after this company. After this company, I had my first job in a small startup. Sorry, but it was a mess.
Wait, you went to a startup after working for all these big enterprise companies?
Yeah, I wanted to change
what were you
because
thinking?
I was very surprised because in this first startup, the the boss of the startup escaped with all the code source and the sales team with all the money, and we were alone in the company without understand what happened, and the company was closed. And at this moment, I was lucky. I met in a conference a solution engineer of GitHub. I started some interview with him and other people at GitHub. And as I was mid pre-sales and technical, they hired me as a solution engineer. So the solution engineer at GitHub is someone that is helping the sales team to explain the customer what is GitHub, if they can use it, if they can do, if they can set up GitHub with high availability, for example, if they can import something from Subversion.
What year was that? What year did you start interviewing at GitHub?
It was in 2016.
How did GitHub land on your radar screen? Like, this is a different kind of company. You've been working for.
Yeah, it was totally different. In the company where in the startup, we didn't use GitHub, we use Bitbucket and Jira. It's only a kind of opportunity and luck and chance or luck. I met this guy in a conference. He was a friend of a friend. We just chat, and some months after they had a position of solution engineer, and we were in contact. But at this moment, I stayed at GitHub during 1 year, just before they were bought by Microsoft. But at this moment, GitHub was only a platform with for managing the source code. There was not CI, CD, nothing. Since that, they did a lot of progress, of course. And so I start again in another startup, but in France, platform as a service startup. Like
You didn't want to stay after the Microsoft acquisition? You thought that wasn't going to be good?
no, it was just the job was boring.
Okay, that's fair.
Because the GitHub is an excellent product. But at this moment, it was already an excellent product, but at this moment, there wasn't any features, in fact, except managing the source code and creating issue. But it was, most of the time, it was enough for the customers. But for me, for my job, it was almost every day was the same.
There was no challenges for you there. It wasn't evolving. You needed something more. So you didn't have enough gray hair yet, and you went back into a startup.
Yeah, again, but I think I stayed in this startup during 2 years. It was a platform as a service company, a little bit like Heroku, but in France. And I learned a lot of things, but this journey was crazy. I went there to be a kind of pre-sales, but developer evangelist too. And during the onboarding, chief sales officer did the onboarding at the same time. And at the end of the first day, he said, it's what you are doing in this company seems very interesting, but I don't understand anything. So goodbye. So since the first day, we lose the chief
What?
sales officer. Yeah. And my boss said, Philippe, you did pre-sales. It's the same thing. So you are the new chief sales officer.
And here's the salary, right?
It was a startup, so I had a salary, but a very small salary. Okay, to be honest, chief sales officer is not my favorite job, but I learn a lot. And my boss said, so you are the new CSO, and your mission is to find money. Okay, so I did it. But honestly, I love to speak with customers to explain them the value of our platform or software. But I hate to try to find a new customer. It's not in my DNA. It's not for me.
You're not a salesperson. That's a
no, I'm
different
not.
concept.
No. I love working with salesperson and help them, but I'm not a salesperson. But I did something that, and we earn money with that. Normally, the company was a PaaS company, so you choose. You said, I want a virtual machine with Java, and I will deploy a Java application, or I want a virtual machine with .NET, and I will deploy .NET application. That's it. And you cannot change the operating system. You just deploy 12-factor application compliant on a PaaS. But some of my customers had other needs, and one of them was they need GitLab hosting. I bought the license for my customer, and we operate several GitLab instances on our platform.
You were doing hosted GitLab for your client.
Yes, exactly. And something I forget before, just after GitHub and before to go to this new company, I just applied at GitLab. I had an interview, and they just said, okay, but no, and we stopped. And I forget. And at the moment, the VP sales of EMEA of GitLab contacted me, telling me if we can we do a Zoom chat, please? We need to chat. And I was sure it was about the license we bought for our customers, and he want to propose something. And no, in fact, he said some years ago we had an interview, and we weren't very fancy with you, and we never called it you. We never call you again. But now this is the list of my customers, and we need you at GitLab. And the new journey started like that.
Wow, that's amazing. Do you think though you hosting GitLab the way you did put you back on the radar screen?
Honestly, I don't know. I think it's more probably because one of the former companies, it was for two things. I am not sure because this person is not at GitLab anymore, but it was the beginning of GitLab as an enterprise solution in France. A lot of companies use it because it's free, but at the moment the big company need support, need risk management, something like that, and then they decide to buy the enterprise license, and they started to make deals with big French company. But in France, we are very, very bad with foreign language. So when a big company cannot have French speaking people in front of him, they are not happy. So I think I will be, because my biggest customer was a company, a former company where I worked before, and I think they hired me because I'm French, in fact.
They saw it on your resume. They saw it on your
Yes,
resume. Mm. That's kind of strategic though. And they
perhaps.
kept your resume around. It's not like they threw it out. That's interesting.
But I think my this time my French language helped me a lot because I didn't know this at the beginning, but I I had an interview at GitLab. The last interview was with Sid, one of the creators of GitLab, and he said to the VP, "It will be difficult because his English is terrible." But I didn't know that. I Someone tell me this probably last year. It was but I survived too.
So what year was it that you switched now and you jump over to? But it had to be more than we need you. I'm guessing they were going to give you a good position. It was interesting. You were going to get more money. What year was that?
Yeah, because yes, the position was more interesting about money, but about the job too, and because to be a chief sales officer is not for me. I know how to do this, but I don't want to do it. So I prefer helping the sales team. So in the case of GitLab, it, they proposed me something that it's not pre-sales, it's post-sales. So, but I need to work with the solution architect. So they are doing the pre-sales and the customers and the sales. So for me, it's various every day. Another thing of GitLab is we are a little bit crazy, I think, at GitLab because we are shipping new features every month. So so I have to learn something almost every day. And for this, GitLab is my longest experience, in fact, because I'm at GitLab for more than 5 years.
You started there in 17.
I started at yes, but because at the beginning, I keep my former job and I was a contractor at GitLab.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
And at a moment, GitLab told me, no, you are a salary at GitLab. So I quit the former job. And to have two jobs at the same time, it's a crazy thing. And
Yeah,
I advise to not to do it.
it's not fun. Like you're
Yeah.
making
Oh, it
money,
could be
and
fun,
that's
but it's
good.
very difficult. Yes.
Like you can't do that for more than a year. I did it for a year, and you cannot do it for more than a year. You burn out very quickly.
I never think to go away to go to another company because the almost every day I learn something.
So what's interesting to me is you've always been. So the sales teams in these companies need a technical person. You need somebody technical that can translate the right words to the customers, clients, to the tech teams. Like this is a really important position. But a lot of people don't. A lot of the technical people don't want it because they feel like they're going to lose their technical skills, and it's hard to find people on the sales marketing side that have the technical chops. But you've always gravitated to this sort of role. You've always loved this role.
Yeah, I'm lucky to love pre-sales or post-sales stuff at the same time, at the same time of technical stuff. I know that a lot of developers don't want to do what I'm doing, but to be able to play, because for me, technical part is something like playing with toys, and I like that. So it's the beautiful part of my job. But to be able to speak with my customers to understand what they need and how I can help them, and in my case, it's easier because they already bought the enterprise solution. So I'm just here to help them to use it better, for example, but I have nothing to sell. So then my the relationship with my customer is more trust relationship of trust than if I would be in a pre-sales. Because when you are pre-sales, you want to push something.
I just wonder with so many people unemployed right now who are engineers and developers because of the purge that we've gone through all year. I wonder how many of these positions are currently open that these engineers could fill and add a lot of value to these companies. I don't know. I've never looked at it, but my brain is like now going, oh my God, if I was an engineer and I couldn't find an engineering job, I could do this. I could.
Yeah. Before GitHub, I didn't know that this kind of job can exist. In fact, the customer success was something I didn't really know. About the number of the number of positions. Sorry, it depends of course, of the market and the age of the company. When I started at GitLab as a CSM, so customer success manager, uh, we were only two people in EMEA, a solution architect and myself. And sometimes he is doing my job and I was doing his job. And all the other CSM and solution architect were in the United States. So probably 20 or 30 people in the US and two people in EMEA. So it was crazy. At the moment, I probably had a portfolio of 180 customers. It's almost impossible. But I was lucky. Most of the time, a big part of them hadn't any issue, so it was okay. But now we did a lot of progress. So the team has grown in UK first, and after in France. So I think how many CSM we are in EMEA? Probably
Is
10
this
or 15.
is this like a common name for this sort of position, customer?
Yes, Before the name of my position was technical account manager, but the common name is CSM, so customer success manager. So we changed the name of the position, and for my new position, customer success engineer, I don't know if it's very new. I have this position since 1 year. We are only two in EMEA, and I don't know in the US because I work with them too. The job is interesting because um, the two last year I working almost only for France, and now I can work again for the whole EMEA and sometimes for the US or other countries. So even if I'm struggling when I have to speak with some customer, it's a lot more interesting for me.
It's just, I'm going to look, when we're done, I'm going to look to see what's in the marketplace for this position. You've never struggled to find the next job either. Like that next opportunity has kind of been there for you, it seems.
Yes, but because I think I was often very lucky, but I never tried to find I never f- tried to find the perfect or the absolute job. So sometimes I was not sure to be the more relevant or the more adequate person for the job, but I try. Sometimes I fail, sometimes I win. But if the company is interesting and the job is not boring and I can find interesting things to do, I try. But I never, I used to say I don't know what I want to be when I will be a grown up because I think I'm an eternal child. So perhaps next year or I don't know when I will change again. I don't know. But for me, the most important thing is the interest of the job every day. But honest, if I have to choose, probably I would like to do only development and to speak with nobody and to do only what I want with a very interesting payroll, but it's not possible. So I think it's why I almost never had issue to find a new job.
When I go on your Twitter, I see that you are on stage in that Twitter picture. So is that something that you're doing? You're giving talks at conferences as part of the job, or something that you've always wanted to do and you're doing?
Uh, no, doing conference is a hobby. Most of the time, I pay with my own money to go to a conference. Sometimes my boss is very nice with me, so he say, "Oh no, yeah, you can go." When I speak about GitLab, it's not my normally it's not my job to speak about GitLab publicly, but sometimes I do it and I can expand it. It's not a problem. Sometimes I will speak. Most of the time, I will speak with something not related to GitLab. But for me, it's a hobby. It's a pleasure to speak in front of people and to make friends. So it was like at the beginning, it was like a therapy because when I was young, I was very shy and it was very difficult to speak in front of than two people, for example. Now I'm feeling more confident, especially in French, of course. But I try to challenge myself by doing some talk in a conference outside France. So sometimes I was in Barcelona for a WASM conference in February. No, not in April. I cannot remember. And in February in Florida for another conference. So it's always a little bit. Um, I'm a little bit anxious every time, but in fact, I discovered that all people are very friendly, and then things are easier. And I think we will meet together soon. It's not public for me, but normally I will be a speaker at GoLab in Florence.
Ah, are you going this year?
Yeah.
Ah, so yeah, I'm going to be there. I didn't go last year, but I'm going to be there this year.
Cool.
Are you speaking in any conferences this year?
This year, I already spoke in at Guasamayo in Spain, at Saivo Navigate in Tampa, and some French conference. But I don't right now. I don't plan to go to another conference except GoLab. I try to find I'm last year I wrote a kind of ebook about WebAssembly and Golang, and I try to write another one, but not only with Golang and with a lot of more things that I learned since 2 years. So I need time for me, in fact.
All right, we got like 10 minutes left, and this is becoming a question I've been asking more and more guests, and I think you being at GitLab, it also becomes important. So, what are your thoughts around what we're starting to see with AI and these generative AIs and large language models, and what kind of things could we expect coming out of GitLab maybe soon with AI, right?
I think so. We are trying to do the same thing as Copilot, of course, because everybody wants to have something like that. It's not my favorite features because most of the time I never the appropriate suggestion because or probably my prompts are not appropriate. I don't know. But what we can expect from AI help when using GitLab or when using a software like when you search in the documentation. For example, the documentation of GitLab is huge, but sometimes the documentation is done by engineer, sometimes by technical writers, and sometimes, but they don't always think about the users. So to find something, it's complicated sometimes, or you don't find what you want because the documentation is very huge. So I think AI can help to find an answer in the documentation. Another thing for me is from a French perspective, for example, when I have to review a huge merge request with a lot of people on it that have not necessarily the same way of speaking English, it's becoming difficult to understand all the thread. So the AI could help us to do a kind of summary of the thread to have a quick overview of the problem. Because sometimes for my customer, I don't need to understand everything, but I have to explain him what is happening. Yes, we are in progress, but it's not enough. So if I can explain with more details, it will help me, and it will help the other people because at GitLab, but for our customers too, we don't speak the same language. So I think it can help.
Are you excited about AI? Are you concerned about AI? You don't care about AI?
I don't care about the suggestion, but don't say it to my boss. But I care about the help on documentation, explanation. One of my job is sometimes is to help we have the biggest plan of GitLab is named Ultimate. It's expensive, and there are a lot of features related to the search of vulnerability or vulnerability detection. And some of our customers bought the Ultimate plan, but they don't use the features of Ultimate. So it's a pity. So one of my job is to explain them how to use the vulnerability features, how to do triage on the list of the vulnerabilities, something like that. But if you have, and we will have it, something explaining a vulnerability with a human language, it could help to triage for the triaging, but it could help the developer to solve it. Because sometimes when you have the explanation of the CVE, sometimes I don't understand what is written, and I'm not alone with that. So I think it could help with the explanation and probably with the solution. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm a little bit afraid because in fact the AI will do a part of my job, but it's the progress. But yeah. I love it. And honestly, I said I don't care about the code suggestion, but I'm testing a lot the new code suggestion features, and in fact, it's very interesting because the first time I said, "Wow, it's bad," and every day I see the difference because the model is trained and there is a progress, there are improvements. So it's like if I started in a new company again, in fact. Yeah, I'm excited and very curious to see how my customer will use it, in fact.
Cool. All right, so we're out of time. Philippe, thank you for spending all this time with us talking about your career, GitLab, and I think it's super interesting.
Thank you to have me, Bill.
And I have no doubt there are others on the same path. So if there's anybody that wants to reach out to you after listening to this, and we'll get it in the show notes, but what's the best way for somebody to reach out to you?
I would say Twitter, in fact, because I'm a Twitter addict, and even in my former company and in another one, my boss, in fact, when he have to reach me, tried first Twitter and after the phone. But because if you call me on the phone, probably I won't answer because I don't like phone. I don't need a phone except for internet, in fact. But on Twitter, I think it's the best way.
So that's K33G underscore
K33G underscore org, yes.
All right. What does that even stand? What am I missing there?
About the signification of Keywork. In fact, I started with Twitter when I was the manager of the Java team, and one of my developers told me, "But you don't know Twitter and GitHub?" No. So he said, "You should use Twitter," and I was searching about a name, and in fact, Key33G is the reverse of geek. And so I bought a domain name, and it was key33j.org. So on Twitter, Kig was already existing, so I used Kig.org, and if you search me on GitHub, it's Kig, and on GitLab, it's Kig too.
That's cool. All right, that's cool. That's cool. And once you get your Blue Sky thing set up, you can use your actual domain.
I started Blue Sky this weekend. In fact, I had an invitation, so I just registered. Try to find my friends, but I don't use it a lot right now.
Yeah, I don't use it a lot either, but it's there. I think it's going to be good. I just hate having to manage two apps.
It's interesting to say some people, the same people on Twitter and on Blue Sky are not posting the same thing. It's very interesting. And a little bit disturbing.
It's just, I don't want to post everything twice. So I still haven't fully committed to Blue Sky yet, but I'm sure somebody's going to build something that lets you post on both in one shot, and then life is good.
Yeah.
All right. So this is Bill and Philippe signing off the Ardan Labs podcast, and hope to see everybody again real soon.